And we are live. Hi, everybody. I'm going to pin your, actually, I can't pin it. Hold on a second. Oh, shoot. I can't pin comments because I don't have my computer here.
Oh, well.
Well, this is good. This is an accidented from the beginning live stream. I'm so sorry.
Very last minute, but it'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, we have one person who just tuned in. Welcome, everybody. For those of you who catch the replay later, this is our June live stream, the one that I'm going to be doing every single month on a Saturday. And I decided to invite Paul because he has an important event tomorrow. And I wanted to talk about it. So why don't you describe what's happening tomorrow?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's not even tomorrow. It's a few hours from now, 6.5 hours from now.
Oh, actually, because it's overnight. You're right. Okay.
Yeah. So, 6.5 hours from now at 6 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be in Ellerbe, North Carolina to run. Hey, Mr. Germson. I'm going to be in Ellerbe, North Carolina to run the Bethel Hill Moonlight Boogie, which is a 50-mile road race, my very first ultra. So, nervous, but excited. So, yeah, it should be fun. But I'll tell you, Suzie, what makes me a lot more excited, in all truth, is your training, because we have begun your training block for the Wineglass Marathon in New York in October. So very cool.
Yeah, this week was a little, because I started a new job, and you know this. I'm referring to you, Paul. You knew that I was starting a new job. So it's been a little bit bumpy. Not because of the running, because, when you start a new job, there was a lot of, extra. Yeah, it's more stressful. So I'm going to have to learn a little bit better how to manage my time.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat with my training as well. So, I understand exactly where you're coming from. There's a lot of changes that work for me too. So I'm going to be, especially with the heat, I'm going to be adjusting my hours so that I'm up at silly hours in the middle of the night so that I can get my runs done while it's still dark and I wouldn't say cool, but cooler than if I was running in the middle of the day. So
yeah, that was my number one issue, really, is that my prior job, I had it all like under control. So I wasn't tired at the end of the day. So I would go to bed, sleep well. But a couple of days this week, I actually overslept because my neurons it's not only the physical training, it's also that my brain wasn't override. Yeah. So there was a couple of days that I just could not fit the run in because I woke up too late. Yeah. And by too late, I mean, I think Thursday. Was it Thursday? I think it was Thursday. I woke up at 7:20, which is, I never wake up past 6:10. So when I looked at my watch, I don't even set up an alarm because I wake up early anyway. So when I looked at my watch, I was like, oh my God, this can't be true. Like, I was in shock. I mean, at that point, I have time to get ready and start.
Your body needed the rest. You're obviously overtaxing yourself. So I'm glad you got the extra hour in. So.
Well, we have to, we'll see how this week goes. I mean, it will improve eventually. So one of the things that I'm going to have to go into an office. So I want one of those days to be Monday because it is my rest day so that I don't have to rush.
Yeah. And keep in mind that, once you kind of settle into a schedule at work and life, hey, there's Calvin.
Hi, Calvin.
Once you settle into a schedule at work, once you know it's predictable, we can always rearrange your run training, change your rest days and all that stuff. So no big deal.
Oh, good.
I like to be very flexible that way, just to kind of, it has to work for the person. I don't like when people try to adjust their lives to a run training schedule. That's not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And so, but the one thing that happened this week is that I was supposed to run 6 miles on Thursday, and I didn't run them on Thursday because I woke up late. I didn't have time. And then I decided to do them on Friday. I texted you, and by the time you texted me back saying don't do them, I had already done them. Too bad.
Okay, so that's news to me. All right, cool. So let me ask you.
Because you said don't do them, just ignore
Yeah,
the
just
six.
skip over and kind of pick up where you left off.
I'm like, too bad. They're done.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. How do you feel going into tomorrow? You have 12 miles easy scheduled on your.
No, I have 10. Don't I have 10? I have 10.
Oh yeah, I'm in the wrong one. I was looking at the wrong week. Yes, you are
Yeah,
correct.
you were
10
scaring
miles
me right now. Yeah.
Yeah, with 2 by 2 miles at marathon pace with a 2-mile float in the middle. So kind of
Well, I'm gonna wake up early, get them done before it's like super hot. So that's
cool. How do you feel about
my
having
goal.
to run at marathon pace, even though it's like short little chunks?
Well, that marathon pace should be doable. The marathon pace you gave me, it's not 3 hours 55. I actually was looking at it yesterday, and the calculation was like, I think it's 4 hours 22. I was like, okay, I should be able to run, a 10-minute mile.
Yeah.
Like 2 miles and then 2 miles slower and then another 2 miles. I should be able to do it. So
Okay. I'm
we'll
really,
see.
really looking forward to your feedback. Like the sooner you can get a text to me or something or some form of communication as soon as that run is done, the fresher it is in people's heads. I always get better feedback from runners when they
Right.
get back to me immediately afterwards, because then I get the details of, the third mile was like this way, but then I bounced back, or you know what I mean? Like the little stuff that you forget so easily, like a couple hours down the road. So I'm hoping that, it's going to be like a 2-mile warm up for you, 2 miles at marathon pace, a 2-mile sort of aerobic chunk after that, then resume for 2 more miles of marathon pace, and then a 2-mile warm down to get to your 10 miles total. And I'm hoping that that's a little bit not challenging, but I hope it's less challenging than like going out for an extended tempo pace run, because tempo pace is obviously just that little bit faster, closer to half marathon pace. So I'm hoping, like, just don't push too hard. We're still in the early stages of your training where we're just more worried about building your base mileage and kind of touching race pace and a little faster than race pace every once in a while at this stage, just to kind of tease your body into like getting used to it. But it'll be, once we're into July, that's when we're going to kind of start heavy into hill work. And I think one of the things that's really going to change for your training this time around, thanks to all the awesome feedback you gave me after the half marathon training, is that your long runs are not going to be these. There'll be probably no progression runs in your long runs this time around.
Thank you, because that's what I hate the most, the progression runs.
Yeah, so you will still have them occasionally on Thursdays, which is your middle long run. I agree, Dan. Susie's definitely got this.
Thank you, but for the vote of confidence.
But I think your long runs are probably, since we're going after the marathon now, are going to be better served either just being long, easy miles, just stretching that base out. But like tomorrow's run, we will occasionally visit race pace in those long runs, but they will be very much in controlled, small, palatable amounts, as opposed to the last time when you were training for the half marathon. We had some big chunks of like 6 miles, 7 miles at half marathon pace. And it was only after getting your feedback throughout that entire cycle that I started to realize, okay, this is just between this track day and the middle long run with tempo speed, that was just overwhelming you. So I think if we kind of just treat the long run a little more easily and save the harder work for Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think you will not be nearly as worn out this time around.
Hopefully. Right now, I feel fine. Like physically, I feel fine, even though I'm doing a lot of strength training, which I was trying to. So in the past, when I've trained for marathons, I usually do like 10 hours of like, I'm not running 10 hours, but maybe I'm running 8 hours and doing 2 hours of strength training, or running 9 hours and doing 1 hour of strength training. So I'm hoping to get to, so last week I did 9 hours total. I did 4 hours of strength training, including core.
That's a lot.
And then 5 hours of running. So I'm hoping if I like gravitate there, once I start running more and doing less strength training, I'll be sort of used to it. Because strength training is hard too. I mean, it's
Oh,
not
heck yeah.
a walk in
Yeah.
the park. Yeah.
I mean, you know, just to kind of lay the groundwork here for everybody who's watching this, core work to me is like, you shouldn't run if you don't do core work. It just improves everything about the way you hold your body when you run, makes you less injury prone, makes you able to run stronger and more efficiently in the later miles of those longer races, et cetera, et cetera. It just makes you feel better generally in life. On top of that, there's strength training, which I think is a different thing than core training. When you're between training cycles for a race, that's when I think runners should really be hitting strength work heavy, like 3 times a week, no problem. Once you begin, especially like a marathon training cycle, I think even in the early stages of a marathon training cycle where we're just building your base, even at that point, I want to see runners cut their strength training back to twice a week. And the other thing that I like runners to do is, in case they used to like sort of do that kind of lift to failure thing, like you just keep doing reps with heavier weights every couple of weeks and just repping until you just can't lift again. That has to be out the window when you're in a training cycle as a runner, because your strength needs to be saved for those runs. That's why I always tell runners also that run first, strength train later in the day, always. Save your best effort for the running, because that's what you want to be. You want to be a runner. So that's why in your schedule, I have your strength work scheduled basically for Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Tuesdays, you'll be doing like either track or rep work, you know, intervals. And then Thursday is going to morph into your middle long run. So even though the speed won't be as high, the fastest you'll ever get on a Thursday is like tempo pace. Those are hard workouts, and to bounce back and to make yourself go home and then try to lift weights, I know it's a lot to ask, but the reason I prefer that runners do that is because make your hard days hard, make your easy days easy. If you're lifting weights on your easy days, you're never really truly getting an easy day. You're never giving your body that absolute rest that it needs. So,
right.
Yeah.
My issue with getting the strength training later in the day is that then I don't sleep well.
Oh, really?
I've tried, and it just interrupts because I have to do them at like 5:30.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if because like then I push dinner and I just don't sleep well. Like I am so wired. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So
well,
they have to happen either right after the run, or I just have to do them some other time and maybe make them lighter or something. Because if I do them Tuesday and Thursday and I do them at the end of the day, I just don't sleep well. I'm like wired. Like I can I don't know if it's because the testosterone, because when you strength train, your testosterone goes up. I think I'm just like ready to kill an animal or something. Like, honestly, it's like I feel so wired. Whereas if I do it in the morning, I'm just like, I get energy after that, the next 4 or 5 hours, I'm so wired. It's the same thing. I can just do anything. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So yeah, maybe something we work on is like, we don't have to do it now in real time with cameras rolling, but we can have a meeting where we go into detail, but just to pass along the kind of things that I think we can explore for everybody that's watching is make those strength sessions shorter. Like even myself, when I'm in the middle of a marathon training block, if my strength sessions, my 2 time a week strength sessions are taking me more than 40 minutes, then I rework it, because it's just too much. It's just too much. And when I go into, I always like to do a full body strength routine twice a week. And I concentrate, like all of my real effort goes into the leg and hip stuff. Like, whether it be the deadlifts or the weighted
squats, lunges,
the calf raises, all that kind of stuff. That's where I put all my effort in making sure my form's perfect and I'm lifting maximum possible weight while not making my running suffer for it. And all this stuff that's for upper body, as you can tell by the complete lack of upper body strength there.
Oh, you do have upper body though.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's
Face it.
kind of like I'm doing it because I want to remain resilient. I have no interest in bulking up from the waist up. Like I want to make sure that those muscles can handle twisting and bending and stuff like that. But I'm not worried about size. I'm not worried about having extra muscle that I got to carry around on all these runs. I just want to make
Right.
sure that I'm functional, I guess is probably a good word for it. So,
Right.
yeah, so think about that too. Like if you're going into the weight room late on a Tuesday and a Thursday and it's taking you an hour or more to get through that weightlifting.
Oh, it never.
We
It
maybe
never. I
talk
usually
about,
do it at 30 or 40 minutes. Depends on.
okay, good,
Yeah.
good. Okay, yeah. So maybe we just rework what you're doing and figuring out maybe sort of compound exercises that you can do that will hit muscle groups and allow you to have fewer actual moves
Right.
in each set, as opposed to, you know, like I'm up to 12 different exercises that I do in my weight routine now, and it's just, yeah, it's like I barely make it through in like 45 minutes sometimes. But
Right. And they say that really the reality is that you need, it's the same basic moves. It's just upping the weight, like
yeah,
progressively overload. So it's not
exactly.
really, yeah, it's not that you need to get very fancy with your moves. It's just do them consistently and just keep, you know.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
just to pass
once you nail the form, once you're doing them correctly, then just keep overloading.
that's the big thing, is keep your weight low enough where you can maintain good form. Like lifting super heavy is really it's you know, unless you're like a, you know, somebody who's really good in the gym and has years of experience, I would recommend just keeping the weight to where it's enhancing. I used to really do I when I first started weightlifting, for anybody who's out there who just wants to take up strength training with free weights, start out with lower weights and go higher reps. But you want to get away from that as soon as possible. I mean, here I am saying don't lift super heavy, but there is a nice middle ground there. What you really want to do is find a weight that you can comfortably lift where it starts getting pretty hard by the second set, but you don't want really to be able to lift more than 2 sets of 8 reps. Because if you can go to 10, 12 reps, 15 reps in a set, that means you're lifting too light. And
Right.
as runners, we get plenty of aerobic conditioning. We get plenty of sort of slow twitch muscle fiber development simply through the act of running. The weight room should be about building strength so that you can move faster when you're on the road running. So yeah, find a weight that works for you for each exercise that you do, where you can perform 2 sets of 8 and you're going to be golden, you know.
See, I don't think I'm not even there. Yeah. So I curled the other day with 15 pounds.
Okay.
And I could have done a 4th set. I did 3 sets of 8. I could have done a 4th set. So
okay.
So I can probably lift even heavier.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, drop another 5 pounds onto those dumbbells and see what happens.
I need to buy more. Like
yeah,
now
yeah,
I need
yeah.
a 20. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. So see, yeah, I don't know if you want to deal with, you know, weight plates and dumbbells and barbells and all that stuff, but it definitely, in the long run, it's more economical because you can just go out.
Because you just attach them. Yeah.
Yeah, you just go out and buy a couple of 200.
Yeah. Eventually, I think I'd like to buy one of those racks where you put your weights so they are organized. Because right now I light them up against the wall.
Yeah, you got to see our spare bedroom. It's just wall to wall. You know.
So I would like to have a nice, you know, so you. And it's also easier because you don't have to go to the ground to lift, like, you know, like you put the ones, you know, like you grab them from higher and get a bench as well. That would be nice to have a bench.
Yeah, bench is nice to have. Calvin's digging his way to China over.
Oh, Annie has her nose next to the door if she wants to get out. I don't want her getting out though, because she's licking her paw. This is going to be on my video. We have a problem with her paw. She's licking her paw, girl. So we can't leave her unattended because she licks it. And when we leave her unattended, we put her a cone, and has
Oh,
the
no.
hugest cone you see. He's like huge. He's like an
Dogs confess
Elizabethan.
that they look silly in those things, and they just don't like it. They always look so sad.
And she actually can't go up and down the stairs with a cone because she can't see. Like she doesn't, she
Oh,
can't
poor
calculate.
puppy.
So, so you see her like she looks and she's like, "How do I go up the stairs?" Poor thing, poor baby.
Oh,
This
she'll get
dog is
through.
mine. She's going through a lot.
Yeah, poor
Yeah.
puppy dog. She'll get through.
Yeah, so I don't know if we still have Mr. Jemson. I think he was the first person who logged in. Are you around, Mr. Jemson? Where are you in the globe? Because he's always traveling.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize.
Yeah, he's always somewhere. And then
Yeah,
Dan,
he
are you
wasn't
still
on my
around,
channel.
Dan?
Yeah,
Dan is doing
it's still hanging.
a trail, an ultra trail now.
Yeah,
I think he's
I
doing
saw
it now. I
I
don't.
saw the video with him and Ben Notley running together. That was pretty cool. But I still haven't caught up with the one where Dan. There should be a video on Dan's channel where he's interviewing Ben, and they're gonna. I could
Oh,
probably
really?
go
I
pretty
didn't.
into depth about their ultra adventures, and I'm dying to see it.
Yeah, you know how you can click on the notifications bell? I don't think it works anymore because maybe I have too many people that I clicked on the notification
Oh,
bell
gotcha.
because it doesn't really notify me. So I don't
Oh
know
well,
what's going on with it.
yeah. I'm utterly unreliable. I just got a new phone yesterday, so I don't even know if anything's working anymore. But
I
my
need
old
to
phone was like
I,
dying
I
in 2 hours. So.
I need to renew my phone. Like I need a new one badly because I do everything on the phone. I edit videos, I film on the
Which blows my
phone.
mind. Blows my mind.
Oh, I'm telling you, this little app called CapCut. You can do
Yeah.
everything on it. You can do for Instagram, for TikTok, for YouTube. You can everything.
Yeah, I tried it once because of your recommendation, and it's super cool. But maybe it'll work better on my new phone because the old one was like my phone was just barely keeping up with it. So
Yeah, I think it needs your RAM. Is it RAM or RAM? Your memory
both
needs to be a certain.
interchangeable. Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be a certain. I think it needs to be 8 GB so that you can. The app drains a lot of that, so it utilizes. Otherwise, it's too slow for for how much power it needs. But you can do everything on CapCut.
That's pretty cool.
Now they did an upgrade. I saw it this morning. I was like, this is pretty cool. Where you can actually, it can do like Chat GPT. Like you can put the topic there and it creates your script.
Oh wow.
You can put the bullet points of what you want to talk about, and it just puts it in it puts a nice flow of. I haven't tried it yet, but I was like, this is just like mind blowing that it can do that.
Oh yeah.
And it's within CapCut.
All of the AI stuff that's coming out now is just amazing. I'm on the beta team for testing a lot of the new Google stuff that's coming out.
Cool.
And it's scary. It's scary. It's funny because I work as a this has a lot to do with running, doesn't it? But I work as a programmer, and it's funny because at our last sort of Uber team meeting that all the programmers sat in on in a big room, our Uber supervisor was like, okay, well, folks, I was just doing a tour of the latest, Google AI, and he said, nobody's losing their jobs, but you keep an eye on what this thing can do. And he was like, go in there and start, telling it what you want to do programming wise. And it's just like, it's scary because you can go in. And I used to dream of this 20 years ago. I used to tell all my colleagues, I want to be able to program, but just by talking to the computer. And now we're at the point where you can do that. You can just tell the computer what you want the code to look like, and there it is.
It's like write a script, like write a like you can tell them like I want this, I want it to be. I'm not here I am talking like I know what I'm talking about. I don't, but you can tell them what you want to create, and they do it in Java and C++ and C# and whatever, write code, blah 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 blah, and if it has errors, you can actually fix the errors.
Oh yeah,
yourself.
The AIs will debug your code, everything. It's amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's insane. So now it's going to be there's going to be jobs for the people who do the who do that,
oversee the AI,
who work on AI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's amazing. Just it's I don't know if it will be fully embedded into the programming world, like on all levels within the next 10 years, like where that's kind of like just the way it is, but it'll be interesting. I'm very interested to see if by the time I retire, that's kind of like the way it is, you know?
It could be possible. I don't see why not.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely coming. It's just a matter of how quickly, you know? But,
Yeah. I think it's coming quicker than we think.
yeah.
That's what I think. I think sometimes we think things are coming and they don't, but I think this one is here to stay and is here to come. It's going to hit
No
us very
stopping.
quickly.
It's just going to be amazing, you know? Well, yeah, I'm tempted to go down a road that if we're already off topic, boy, could we really go off topic.
So I've actually, to tie it back to the topic, have you tried those plants that are generated by artificial intelligence?
No.
Because some people have tried. You haven't?
No.
You know who did it? Matt Bertrand. He actually.
Did he really? Oh, I haven't caught up with that.
He tested it. This was a while back. I think it was maybe 3 months ago. And then he did like a review of how that worked.
Okay. I got to catch this. I got to go see
And
this.
it didn't really, no. He was like, well, because he put him, so I think you have to input certain information for for it to generate your plan. And, but it gave him like a lot of mileage and faster miles than he was capable of, like early on. So yeah, he did a full review. It was really interesting, actually.
Oh, I'm watching that on the ride out to the race, I think.
If you Google it, there's other people doing it now. Like I've seen, I think the Run Experience did one recently. Like I've seen it pop on YouTube, like bigger like channels with more subscribers doing it now recently.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I'll have to jump in and be one of the small channels who tries it.
Yeah. I don't know that I would trust, because there's something, and maybe it's the same thing with a doctor. You know, if this was so, you go to a doctor because a doctor understands and asks questions and is able to like connect the dots that a machine can't, or an algorithm can't. So I don't know that I would trust.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a couple of weeks of trying to ramp back up after this thing that I'm doing tonight. So maybe I'll kind of do some experiments with like sort of a ramp up plan with this thing and see what it does to me.
So let's talk about your race. So how many feet of elevation is it? I know how many. I know the answer, but
yeah, there's no accurate good count. So like, but I've read the vlogs of people who've run it in the past who you know took the readouts from their watches after, and it's just over 5,000 feet. You know, you can go to the race website and you can see like the elevation map, like with the ups and the downs, but you have to calculate it yourself. It doesn't give you the number. So I'm trusting the people who've you know experienced this before. So it's just over 5,000 feet again, over 50 miles. So the race is run in like a 10-mile. It's a 6-mile loop followed by a 2-mile out and back. So 2 miles out and then 2 miles back. So it's 10 miles and you do it 5 times. So the first probably lap and a half, I'm thinking I'll have enough daylight to be able to see the road. And then after that, like it's literally out in the middle of nowhere. So even though you're on a paved road, it's like there are no street lights, there's nothing. It's like you in cornfields or something like that. And
is there traffic? Like, is there going to be cars driving at all?
They say they can occasionally come by, but like the roads that this is run on, over the entire 10 miles, there are 7 houses. So it's going to be like literally the only things I expect to see are bugs, snakes, and dogs. You know,
you might see a coyote or something like that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think no bears probably, but if there's a coyote, you could see. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm hoping to find a couple of runners like tonight. They have 2 different distances that are being run, and we all start together. It's a marathon distance, 26.2, and then there's the 50-mile distance. So I'm hoping between the 2 distances, for at least the first, you know, couple of laps, I can find somebody to run with. that's going to try to hold the same pace. But I think once the marathon is done, or once they all go home, I think it's going to be pretty slim pickings trying to find other runners on the road. It's pretty much going to be me out there. So
I admire you because I don't think I have. I don't know. Maybe I mean I would love to do an ultra, but I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would do one in like my sense of direction is so bad in like mountains and fields and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That I would be afraid to do it on my own.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the one I'm doing tonight seems like a little bit of a. There's only like, you go like 2 miles, take a left turn, go 3 miles, take a left turn, go a mile, take a right turn, and then it's an out and back. So it's okay. As long as in the daylight, I can see exactly where these turns are. I don't think there's going to be a lot to get me confused. You know, like doing an ultra on trails, that seems way more scary to me than what I'm about to do, because when I go out for like short little runs in my local park, like through the woods and the trails, I get so scared constantly that I've missed a turn or taken the wrong trail. And now I always get scared. Well, what if I'm on a 12-mile trail now instead of the 3-mile trail?
Yeah. I wanted to do a trail run like before COVID. And I have a friend he doesn't run anymore because he got injured. He's trying to get back into it. But he used to do a lot of trail runs. So I asked him, I said, just recommend one to me that's maybe 10 miles. That's not too hard, you know, like just to see.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, there's this one I'm running with my girlfriend. Just join us, you know, like sign up and do it with us. And I looked at the, you know, landscape, you know, like kind of and I was like, this has a lot of elevation and it goes through nowhere. Like it's through rocks, basically. He was like, but we're going to be with you. Like we'll all do it together. You know, like we'll stay together. Don't worry. I've done it before. He had done it 2 years before. Like, so he was like, I'm not going to get lost. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I'll do it. I'll sign up. There was a point in that race when we were like, I think we were like mile 6 or something. I said, well, guys, you run right now. You leave me alone. I would just probably sit on a rock and start crying because I have no idea where I am. Like I could not go back, retrace my steps. I would not be able to get out of here. I would just sit and die. It was one of those where you actually have an ankle thing so they can actually via satellite find you.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, somebody would have found me, but yeah, it was like we were going through rocks. Yeah. Like going up rocks and down rocks, and yeah, it was super cool.
Appalachian Trail at all, or like did it cross the Appalachian Trail, or was it just its own?
No, it's in New Jersey. It was the most. It's a really nice race. They actually discontinued it. It's part of the New Jersey Trail races, like the trail series. But I didn't even know that New Jersey had something so wild and like, because it's like you start like in farm fields, and it's like the first mile you go through these farms, and then you just hit this mountain, and then you're like there. Wow. Yeah, we got lost. Like my friend, and I don't think his girlfriend had that this exact one. My friend had done it 3 times, so this was the 3rd time he was doing it. He had done it twice before, but there was one time that we took a wrong turn, and he was like, he noticed pretty quickly, but we're running, and he's like, I don't remember this. I think we took the wrong turn. And then we see another guy coming up. We were going downhill, and he's coming up, and he was like, guys, you need to turn around. This is not the way. He's going that way. So even, he had done it. And yeah, and we were like, so that's, it was a lot of fun, but I can't see myself doing a trail race by myself. Like what Dan does, where he's like on his own and he's talking to the camera and he knows exactly where he's going and where he's turning. And no way. There's no way.
Yeah, I think they're getting ready to do I think it's the South Downs Way 100. And it's just, there's a lot of trail running YouTubers who are getting ready to do that. I think
it's a big one. That's
Ben and all of those guys are getting ready to do the same race.
Yeah. So if I were to do one again, because I know that it's probably going to be one and done, I would do one that's like a big one. I would do one where there's the opportunity of being with other people. So if I get lost, someone will come behind me.
Yeah, I would definitely
one with like 5,000 runners or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and pick a looped course instead of a point to point, so that You know what I mean? Eventually, people will come from behind to find you if you get totally lost.
And you just have to follow them. Another one you can do is like one of those that are like in the desert.
Oh, you know, yeah, like, there's some amazing
because
ones.
Then you like see.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like you could get lost too, but you know, if you go up on a dune, you see. Like,
yeah,
there's going to be people somewhere.
It's like a 200-mile some odd race straight through the Sahara, and it's like I forget the name of it, but
I think that's the Marathon des Sables.
There you go. That's exactly correct. Yeah.
That I know people who've done it. Like I know people who, you have to even protect your shoes because the sand gets in your shoes. So you have to put like these things on top of your shoes.
Oh, like a gaiter, like to keep it up.
Yes, and it goes like almost up to your knees, so that it's and you have to carry everything with you because it's like, you know, like you sleep like every night at the end of whatever day you actually camp, sleep, and then you do it all over again the following day.
Just amazing stuff. It's just like, people are so incredible. The things that people can do, you know, it's just
that's one that I would be like, okay, I'm just gonna do one in my life. Let's just do this one. Because if I'm gonna DNF, at least I DNF one that's like, okay, it was really, really hard. Like I have an excuse, you know.
Oh, exactly. That's why I'm doing this tonight. Is just, hey, Mr. Jimson's back. Comrades.
That's one. So I actually know people who did comrades. When I had my podcast, I interviewed a lady. She goes by the Marathon Whisperer. She's a coach. She makes a living actually of being a coach. She coaches hundreds of people. Yeah, and she did it twice, 2 years in a row. She did it up because there's like once you do it going up, and the next year they do it going down.
Year. Yeah.
So she did it consecutive years. Yeah.
I would love to.
And she said it was super hard. She did comrades twice, and then she did the Everest Marathon.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Hold on a second.
So hey everybody, I've taken over Suzie's channel at this point. What do you want to do? What can we do? Let's see. Oh, she's back.
Yeah, I couldn't keep my dog any longer in here with me. She was here because my husband and my son are doing something. They're making a lot of noise. So she wanted to be with them. So she did the Everest Marathon, and it took her, I want to say, 8 hours. I think it was 8 hours.
Wow, I have no idea. Like, what does it do? Go around the base of the mountain or something, or do they actually climb?
They climb, but I think they go down. I don't think they go. I think you take like a thing. It's not all the way up to the Everest. Like the Everest Marathon is run on the mountain, but you don't run it, obviously. Like there's a portion that you run and you do it down. Yeah.
Wow. I wonder how many
people she said
then go on to climb the mountain.
She said it was very, very, very hard. And they have like these kind of tents, not tents, like little houses where you could go in and warm yourself a little bit and then keep going because it's always cold apparently. Yeah. So even if you're running and it's during the warm part of the year, it's still cold. It's not. Yeah. So so I interviewed her twice. She came to talk about comrades in one of them. And then the second time she came to talk about the Everest Marathon. And
this was for your podcast, right?
For my podcast. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's on my podcast. I can link it. It was, an incredible, When I was doing the podcast.
Send me a link, like when we're done here, because I'll listen to it while I'm running tonight.
Okay, I can. It's a lot of. It's a lot of content. I don't know how long your drive is, but
hours to kill out there.
Yeah. So I interviewed like interesting people for the podcast. I interviewed a guy who had done they call it the Grand Slam, which is one marathon in every continent plus
in a week?
The North Pole. No.
Oh, no.
It's like it's running in every continent plus the North Pole. So he did all of them. So he did Antarctica and then North America, South America, Africa, Europe. Yeah. He chose really interesting one. And then I interviewed a guy who did it 7 marathons in 7 days in in every continent.
I think I listened to that one because that rings a bell.
Yeah, Brian, he had a really interesting, he barely he's really badass, but he barely made it to, like, the last one they did was on purpose, was Miami, because then they were home.
Yeah, gotcha.
And he was so dehydrated for Miami that they actually stopped him to check his pee. They made him pee on a cup because they thought he was not going to be able to finish.
Gotcha.
And he peed on a cup. And
easy. Just seven marathons anywhere in a row is not going to be easy, but especially with all the travel in between. But Suzie, I just, because I'm looking at the time, I want to switch gears completely, just for like,
okay,
I got to be gone in like 5 minutes, but I want to know what you can tell me. What are your thoughts going forward? What do you want to see out of this, like, big picture? What are the kind of things you want to see in your marathon training cycle as it progresses through the summer?
Oh, I want to get a lot stronger. Like I know that's probably not quantifiable, but I want to feel stronger.
Okay, cool. I think that's going to mess or merge well with the fact that we're going to be doing a lot more hills. Like your Thursdays are probably going to be a lot less intensity, but a lot more hills to make up for it. You know what I mean? So like, because I've found over the last, whatever it is, like preparing for this thing, the last 4 weeks, all my runs have been on hills, and I feel so strong. You know, not necessarily.
Yeah,
but you know.
So when I was, it's interesting because when you and I were training for April Fools, which was in April, and I ran New York City half, which was out of the blue. I got a bib. I managed to get a bib.
Yeah.
I felt so freaking strong going into that race. I surprised myself because then I didn't have a good April Fools or any other, you know, like after that, I kind of bombed. But that race, I felt so, I mean, I wasn't even trying to race it, but I felt like, so like, okay, this is a walk in the park. Like, I feel so, honestly, I was like, I slept well. I was not nervous at all. I was like, I just felt like in the zone and like, I got this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to have a ton of fun. And I looked at the elevation of the course later on. I was like, oh, wow, this is like a ton of hills. I don't even remember the hills. Like, I honestly, I don't remember going into the hills.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's just like, yeah, I love days like that where you just, and they don't always necessarily come on a race day. Sometimes it's just, you just have a perfect training day. It just all depends on your hydration, your nutrition, the amount of sleep you've been getting, like in the week leading up to that day. It's just, if you can get it all.
But for example, when I would say I had a really good training block for Atlantic City Marathon last year. Mm-hmm. Like I hardly missed any runs. I nailed pretty much all the paces. Like I was doing really, really well. If I hadn't gotten that bug going like the week leading into the race, I think I would have done really well. But I was so depleted of electrolytes. Like I was running the marathon.
The weather was not exactly great that day either.
But it wasn't like the weather to me wasn't like, honestly, it was windy, but it was not super windy. Like it was windy at times, but not constantly. Like you would get a respite there. Like it was not all the time constantly winds. Like depending if you were like, if we were running in the interior, I mean, when you were along the coast, yes, but inside it really wasn't that windy. So it was just like, I went going into it like that morning, I was like, I'm not going to do well because I was so like, my body was so tired, like physically, I was like so depleted. And we were hitting mile 12. And I remember looking at Ginger, because we started running together, and thinking, I am so tired right now. I could probably sleep 5 hours. Like, you know, when you're like
halfway through a marathon.
And it was at mile 12, and I was like, oh my God, if I could like hit a bed and sleep, I would be like sleeping forever. Like I was very, very, very tired. And I don't think that was so much the training. I don't think maybe I was a little over, maybe, but it was just like, I had been in the toilet for like 3 days in a row. So, and then during the marathon, I had to stop again, but not early on. I stopped later in the race. I didn't have much in my stomach either. I mean, it was just like, I think it would have done a lot better. So what I want to feel is I want to feel like okay, I can do this. I'm going to do it.
Like you said, strong. So you're not,
just strong. Yeah.
Now I've got a better picture of what you mean by strong. So, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What I'd like to do at some point is go through, like actually study the details of your training going into New York when you had that awesome day, and then compare that with what things look like going into Atlantic City, and see if we can learn from that and sort of work that into.
So I've looked at it. We did. So I think there was a combination of things. So going into, so we hit 45 miles really quickly, which is my sweet spot. 45 miles is my sweet spot for not forever. But if we're hitting like 12 weeks of like that 45-mile range, that's where my body feels like kind of
cool
in the zone, like getting stronger. So we hit that, but I think I peaked then. That's my theory. I think I peaked.
Yeah.
And then after that, my body didn't have more. Like, it was just like, I was constantly trying to catch up with that. But other things happened too.
I found the same thing, I think, happened this last time when we were building towards the half marathon goal. I think what we're going to do is what I want to, if this is the, sorry, I've got my hands backwards. I'm looking at the screen here. If this is the buildup in the first 3 quarters of our marathon training cycle, at some point, we're going to do like a half marathon, either time trial or a race, to check where you are before we go into sort of taper mode or just pre-taper mode. But I think what we did the last time is we peaked you too close to the end. What I want to do is shift that back in time so that we're running a time trial for you, a significant time trial where you're really going out there and just giving it your all, probably closer to like 8 weeks away from the marathon, so that you've got ample time to build your body back up and reestablish sort of stasis, rather than just pushing you so hard close to the end. I just think that will go a long way.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, this is an art. It's not like an exact
Exactly.
science.
There's a lot of experiment because, what works for you, it's weird because what works for you this time isn't necessarily going to work for you next time, or even for a different person under the same conditions. It's just, there are so many variables. It's just a matter of really paying close attention. For me, it's paying very close attention to your daily feedback and making constant adjustments to just because it's on paper now doesn't mean we can't change it. And it doesn't mean that there's not another way to get you to where you need to be. So don't ever fear, oh, I'm so tired this week and I was supposed to nail this particular workout and I just couldn't. That's a sign. Let's immediately go in and make some changes. Let's start rearranging and get you back to where you're feeling strong again. Because
another thing that I wanted to actually, I was thinking about this before. So you know how some days I'm doing the 400 meters with the float in between?
Yep.
And other times I'm doing just like the individual with rest.
With full rest in between. Absolutely.
I am faster with the floats than I am with the stops. Like, what? Like, is there an explanation for that?
Well,
it's harder when I stop 90 seconds and then I try to get going again. That's harder than just keep floating. Like, just go a little slower.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Pick it up again.
That's probably 2 things. Number one is when you are giving yourself full rest in between repetitions, like on a track or roads, wherever. That gives your body the ability to you recover more completely during those rest periods. So you're probably running those on times harder. So you're eventually going to wear yourself out. And that's the whole idea, is you're going to wear yourself out. But it's that running harder will degrade you more quickly as each rep goes on. Whereas when you're doing floats, when you're doing active recovery and not allowing yourself to stop, number one, you're probably running faster. Number one, because you're not hitting all of the reps as hard. And that's because your body isn't getting the chance at full recovery. And that's intentional. That's what the float is supposed to be for. It gets you just enough rest to try to get going again. But because you're not able to, on any one individual rep, really crank it, the overall average of all of them will be higher. And plus, when you don't have to stop in between for rest, your body just keeps that flow going. You know what I mean? Like your floats feel better because you just came off of that perfect, as close to perfect form as you can achieve. Because the faster you move your body, the more efficient your form becomes. And that's the whole reason we do things like strides even. Because there's no room for like your elbows going like this and all kinds of silly stuff that you can get away with at slower paces. So when you come off of those high speed reps and you're remaining on a float, even though you can't move as fast next time around, your flow is going. You're moving better. And that probably accounts for why you are able to move faster on a given rep. But I would love to add up the average times for the days where you're taking full rest versus the average time on the days where you're doing floats, because I would guess that the averages would be higher on the days where you're doing floats. The average high speed would be better there, but your peak speeds would be achieved on the days where you're taking the full rests. So
it's gonna be interesting to actually look at it when we have more data.
Yeah, I mean, that's the intention. That's the reason why you do both. You know, like on the days where I'm giving you full rest, I want you to really be gunning hard, like really maximizing your speed, because that's where you build muscle fastest. The days where you're doing reps with active recovery with floats, that's more about, I don't expect you to get as fast, but it's doing a lot for your aerobic efficiency. It's that sort of lactate threshold is meant to, over the period of 3 or 4 weeks, bump up just a little bit. And it takes months to really, really see significant improvement in that, but it happens, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're looking for strength, if you're looking for fast speed gains, you want to do more of the reps with full rest in between. If you're which is great if you're training for a 5K or a 10K or a 10 miler. Once you get to the half marathon and above distances, you get more benefit. You'll see yourself running faster with the reps with floats in between. So that's why I'm starting to lean in more in that direction for you with this training cycle. I'm going to be more worried about short bits moving fast with active recovery, whether that's on your long run like tomorrow, where you're going out doing 2 miles of marathon pace, 2 miles aerobic, 2 miles of marathon pace, and then coming down. That's why I'm trying to go with that approach for you this time around, is because I think we can make a lot of little gains more often without wearing you out.
Good. We have a question before we log off, because I know you have to run, but Mr. Jeremson, question for coach. Is it strange that I have 2 female friends who finished 5K in 3.5 minutes lower than me, but can finish marathon about same time as me?
Can finish marathon about the same time as, yeah, it's it doesn't surprise me in all truth.
It doesn't surprise. I know a lot of people actually, like a lot of female runners. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the female body is very, very good at staying strong over long periods. I think it's well suited to higher pain tolerance than a guy can handle. You know, and I think you know, a guy's body for short terms, you know, generally speaking, of course, we can only speak in vast generalities, but just the fact that the average guy carries more muscle mass than the average female, I think, is going to help you for the 5K, 10K. Not by any means am I setting myself up for a million emails and comments to say, I mean, of course, there are women who are much stronger than the vast majority of the male population. Hats off to you. They're all my heroes. But, you know, I think when you're just talking about your average Joe runners out there, if you're talking about a bell curve, generally speaking, the guys are going to be able to move faster because of more muscle mass short term. But I think the female body excels at that long-term grind it out, you know. I'll leave it there. That's my
so if scientifically, statistically, if you look at data, which data never, well, you can look at it different ways, but the percentile, the difference in between a woman and a man running a 5K, generally the difference is higher, much higher than in a long, like races that are 200 kilometers. They're closer, women and men, and that is because women are really good at women's bodies store fat, and we can burn fat for, like we have fat to give as gifts to people. So, whereas men, a man, if they're like really ripped, they can have 4% fat.
Yeah, I mean,
and a woman, you have to be like, even Shelly Flanagan, they probably have 15-16% fat. So they have a lot of fat to keep going.
Yeah,
I mean, even when they are like super like tiny.
Oh yeah, there's nobody, a man or woman, that doesn't have enough fat reserves on their body. I don't care how rail thin you are, that can't get you through like at least a marathon distance, and well beyond that. But I look at somebody like Courtney Dauwalter, who I don't care, male, female, whatever. She is not the best female ultra marathoner. She is like the best ultra marathon, or full stop. Like, yeah, she can grind. I mean, she is just tough. She's just amazing. She beats guys by like, the best guys in the world are finishing 20, 30 minutes behind her in these really long races.
Yeah.
Susie, I think I'm getting my notice.
You need to go.
Yeah.
I know, you need to go. So I don't know if Mr. Jemson is still around, because we're talking about all the things. Hopefully he listened to the answer, but yeah,
yeah. Hopefully he'll go back and check it if he's not still here watching live. But
I'm not surprised. Yeah, and some people are better just per se. Yeah, male sense instead of made sense. I don't know if that's a typo on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Cool, Susie. Well, thank you for having me on. I got to roll. We got 2 hours on the road ahead of us before I get to the race.
Yeah. Good luck tonight. I'll be watching. Yeah, I'll be. Well, I don't know. Can we follow you anywhere? Is there a way to follow you?
I'll look into that as we're driving out there, because I'm just going to be sitting in the passenger seat.
There might be like Joy, like Racer, one of those apps. We may be able to follow you there. So, yeah.
If it's available, I will set it up. I'll let everybody know. But yeah.
Very cool.
Cool. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
I appreciate you being here. I'll stick around for another 5 minutes or so for anybody who's around.
Cool. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Safe drive.
Cool.
Say hello to Pam.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, guys, I don't know if you have any other questions, comments for me now that Paul just left, but he's going to do great. I'm sure he's going to do great. So I'll post the links to those podcasts that I was talking about the Everest Marathon and comrades, because those were like epic podcasts. So anybody who's interested, the podcast is on all platforms. It's still up on all platforms, even though I'm not doing any more. I'm not recording any new podcasts, but it should be on Spotify and Stitcher and Apple Podcasts and all of those. So if you look for I Run Things, my logo is going to pop, the red logo with the white person running. And you'll find all of the episodes. I think I had like 30 episodes, and all of them were like super cool. People who have traveled the world running adventure races. So what is the greatest obstacle I face now to BQ? So I think the greatest obstacle right now is going to be that I just started a new job, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because it's a new job with a lot of new components, like new things that I'm going to have to learn. I'll be going through training this week. I have to still continue doing training next week. So I think it's going to generate levels of stress that might interfere with training. So I don't have to travel anywhere, but I will have to go into an office a couple of days a week. So again, time management is going to be super important. So I'm sure I'll get the hang. I'll manage to get it done, but it's just going to be a little bit of trial and error. So that's the greatest obstacle is going to be that. It's just the fact that I'm in a new job, and yeah, there's probably times that I'm going to be stressed because I'll have deadlines and things. It's a completely different. It's something I've never done. So there's a lot that I need to learn, and yeah. Mr. Thank you, Natco1, and he's saying I'm very beautiful. Thank you for that. And Mr. Johnson saying I am also very beautiful. You're probably very handsome. Very beautiful. Although some men are beautiful too. I had a coworker once that she used to say her husband was very beautiful. Actually, she used to say my husband's not handsome; he's very beautiful. Okay, guys, thank you for joining. Before we drop it off, I want to remind you all, shameless pitch, I have a Patreon account and I post extra videos there, extra content, and all my weekly running vlogs go earlier for Patreon, so they get released 4 days in advance, and there's no ads on those releases. So thanks to you. Thanks everybody for being here. Have a great weekend and run fearless. Bing!